I'm about 3 or 4 years old, and I tapped my dad on the shoulder. I said, "Come here, Dad, you've got to get out a pad and a piece of paper. I'm about to dictate to you my entire one-man show based on the book Peter Rabbit. Get ready, here we go." I proceed to tell the entire story as a dramatic monologue, complete with set directions and all these kind of different things in it, and he's absolutely amazed. He just keeps going and writing and writing. He takes me to his philosophy class with him, and he sets up everybody, all of his college students, and he goes, "My son is now going to put on a one-man show based on the book Peter Rabbit." That was my very first experience in storytelling and theater. It just seemed to come natural to me. As I grew up, I studied theater like crazy, and I had a talent agent, and between age 9 and age 16, this was all I was doing was show business. In 1983, I got the part of Scooter Computer on ABC's Schoolhouse Rock, which, if you're familiar with those old cartoons, I'm just a Bill Interplanet Janet, were the first cartoons to introduce kids to computers. And this was still, believe it or not, to this day, streaming on Disney+. I was then in 8th grade, half of 8th grade, I didn't go to public school. I was in New York City in the workshop for a Broadway musical, Smile, that starred a young lady named Jodie Benson, who would go on to be the voice of the Little Mermaid. Okay. At the same time, I discovered that I like to write. I still like to write stories, just like when I was 4 years old. So I started writing plays. I said, wait a minute, I don't want to just be on stage. I want to be backstage too. I want to write the production. I want to direct it. I want to put the whole thing together. Sure enough, the first play that I wrote won the New Jersey State Young Playwrights Festival. And the second one that I wrote in 1989 won the National Young Playwrights Festival. So I went to college to be a playwright and a theater director and a screenwriter and an actor. I was jacking into the woods. I wrote a full-length two-act play. It was produced by my college. You know, I won the President's Award in theater arts. I mean, my life was just, everything I touched just turned to gold. You know, when you're a kid, you're just amazing. Every little thing that you could do. You're such a talented kid. You're so talented. You're so gifted and talented. And in 1994, I was selling computers at Radio Shack. What the heck happened? All of a sudden, I wasn't on stage anymore. No one was giving me the part. No one was, entering me into the contest. No one was helping me. The roof just fell out on everything. So, my mother said, "You're gonna go to graduate school, and you're gonna get a master's in communications and go into television." And I said, "Okay, Mom." So I did that. I got a master's degree in communications in 1997. Now, this was a critical year, because there were these little floppy disks at the CompUSA store that said, "Make a website," okay? With something called HTML and HTTP and all of this. I realized this was the thing that I needed to do. This theater wasn't working out. My talent agent called me and said, "Look, you're not going to be the leading man. You're going to be a character actor." I didn't really like that, so I learned HTML. And I started learning how to put these websites together. I was working in corporate America for about 15 years. I was, coordinating different marketing departments and all of this. But I missed this. I missed being on the stage. 25 years of sitting in front of a computer, and I can raise my right arm over my head like that, but this I can't. It's called mouse shoulder. It's from sitting in front of a screen. So, I'm here to tell you today that thing that you put way back in your past, that thing that you said, "Oh, that wouldn't work out," for years and years and years, my mom and dad sold a big 4-bedroom house to pay for me to have this theater arts degree, and it didn't do anything. I didn't go on to be a world famous playwright or get the leading role in a movie or anything like that. But as I started to do marketing, something funny was happening. In 2005, all of a sudden, they started streaming video on this thing called YouTube. And I'm sure we've all heard by now about this thing called social media. So all of a sudden, one day, I'm working with a client, and we're talking back and forth, and she says, "You know what? I started teaching her how to speak, how to act out her marketing." And she said, "This is great, Darell. I need a theater director for my marketing." Wait a minute. I thought hold on. And then I'm writing for another client, and I'm writing this blog, and he says, "How are you doing that? You sound just like me. How are you writing like me as a character. And then I realized I'm an actor. And what I'm doing is putting on theater only in a digital stage. So, I'm here to tell you today that you, all of you, are a gift to the world, and the world needs your gifts. What you can teach, what you know, and what you can demonstrate, that you kind of take for granted, that you put aside, that you kind of just think everybody must know that thing that you're able to do, is your gift that can create your profits and influence. So, my dad's a philosophy professor teaching me linguistic philosophy, etymology, and words have meaning. My mom is a school teacher teaching me how to write curriculums and how to organize, classroom kind of sessions and all that. While meanwhile, I'm a playwright and an actor and a dramatist. So now I'm going to tell you how I put all those together to create my purpose in life. You see, when you finally, life kind of wobbles around, right? The train kind of wobbles around. I lost my father when I was 24 years old. We lost my mom to ovarian cancer. I got type 2 diabetes. I was hospitalized. And, all that drama, that stuff that happens outside, that stuff that happens to you. But that has nothing to do with what my father taught me, which is that there are a couple of things in this life, in this world, that no one can take away from you. No one. No government, no force, no person, no bully, no nothing. And that is your education, your talents, and your gifts. So, I met this local auto mechanic in 2016. Really smart kid. Has a master's degree in physics and engineering, and his sister was an opera singer. So he's very into theater, and he's a big ham kind of guy, likes to be on camera. So I said, okay, I'm going to build him a masterpiece, a Picasso, in marketing with theater and media, and also with logic and something called SEO. So, first thing I did was make him a website with 60 landing pages, one for each and every type of car that there is and every service that he can provide. Now, this is what I call a situational avatar. Now, listen very carefully. I don't care about demographics. A lot of people talk about I serve people between age 45 and 55, and they're women, and they're something or other, or men, or whatever, right? I don't care about that. I care about what situation someone is in, because marketing is two things. You see, I'm a philosopher, like my father before me. Watch this. Give people hope and prove that you can do it. That's what all this is. You get up in the morning, what should I do? Click the Facebook? What do I do with this LinkedIn? Should I make a blog? No, what do I do? Two things. Give people hope and prove that you can do it. So we made these separate landing pages, giving people hope and making a promise that this kid could fix a Bentley, a Lamborghini, a Honda, a Toyota Civic, whatever the heck it is, Honda Civic or whatever, okay? Then we've got to prove that the kid knows how to do it. So relentlessly, I went down to a shop and we demonstrated him doing what he does. How you are sells what you do, right? You actually living the life that you're living, doing the things that you're doing, and using your gifts. Now, there was something else that I had to do just besides make these videos and super optimize them on YouTube. I also wanted to transcribe them, okay, and write out all of the content, the words out of his mouth, and put them on the page. Why? Let's take a time machine back to 1989. There's this guy in Belgium, and he says, you know what? It's kind of boring to have to get out Eric's book out of the library, right? Public library, and flip through it, and it refers to D.D. Wong, and you got to take that book back to the library and go back to the library and get out D.D. Wong's book and flip to that book. What if we could link it all together? What if we could create a hypertext transfer protocol that could take a stream of text and mark it up with something called a hypertext markup language so it will appear on a page, and then do something else quite magical, link them together? In other words, we could go from one document to another in this expansive stream of the extension of our human consciousness called the World Wide Web. Now let's go back to our auto mechanic. Over and over again, he's talking about brakes and single plane brakes and carburetors and shock absorbers and all these different kind of things. And I'm reading these blogs, what he's saying, and I'm finding linguistic patterns. You might have heard this terminology before. Keywords, key phrases, that he, because he's using his gifts and he's tapping into that thing that he loves to do over and over again, he's using that. So all I started to do was link them together. You understand, there is influence in you. It's what you can teach, it's what you can demonstrate, and what you know. Okay, sales are coming in, we're doing pretty good. But then I said, wait a minute. I want to use this philosophical reverse engineering logic kind of brain that I have and say, let's reverse engineer influence. Let's reverse engineer something that could go viral. Okay, so a lot of people have a problem with something, right, that everyone's trying to solve, and you can solve it too, right? So here's your homework. I'll let you pause the video for a second so you can get a pad and a piece of paper. Okay, now, I used to be a stand-up comedian. I can't leave the comedy out of it. I had to put in something. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down 10 things that you can teach and that you can demonstrate and that you know, okay? Because what you're going to do is you're going to record those and transcribe them and just simply interlink them together and be relentless about it. Now, I grew up in Edison, New Jersey, okay? World famous for the Wizard of Menlo Park, Thomas Alva Edison. Edison said there are two types of people in this world: those who are successful and those who quit. It's a motto in my life to be relentless, right? What is the problem with most people in business? What's the problem with most people trying to do something online is they do 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 videos or blogs or Facebook posts and they go, oh, it didn't work. And I say, look, you hardly tried to do it, right? Now think about someone who's a doctor or some of the other speakers that you're hearing from today who have studied for years and years and years to be where they are today. Did they just take some seminar, watch some seminar online and buy some $59.95 dollar kit through one of these, God forbid, funnel things and like just, turn around and start public speaking? No, they're determined to use their gifts and use their gifts to serve the world. So here's my challenge to you. Tap into yourself. Think about what your gift really is to this world. What can you teach? What do you know? And what can you demonstrate? Your business is not something that magically is over here where the rest of your life is over here. You see, I found my center. My bullet train is on course. Because every day when I get to do one of my stern storming exercises with someone, where I say, okay, the first thing we're going to do, you're going to think about in my mind is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to go back, all the way back, to the first thing you can see, the first thing you could smell, the first experience that you had in life. Because those experiences, when you first learned a life lesson, when you first learned that people can love, where you first understood what caring was, when you first learned you could teach somebody something else, when you first learned something about philosophy, those things built who you are today. And you are a gift to this world, and the world needs your gifts. And when you tap into those things and you're relentless about it and you say, I know this, I know how to do this, I fixed this, I can help you. Give people hope and prove that you can do it. There is influence inside of you. I'm Darell Stern. See you later.